Good afternoon and welcome back to another day of Superwoman Saturday with me, Danny. I'm glad you guys could be here. Thank you for coming back, or if it's your first time, hiya, welcome. So what I do here is every Saturday I sit down and I talk about an inspirational woman throughout history, and I attempt to do my makeup at the same time. Let me know down in the comments if there's anyone that you guys want me to talk about specifically, and I'll see if I can do that in future weeks. So today our story takes place in, forgive me if I pronounce these wrong, I'm just going to say it now, disclaimer, I'm probably going to pronounce more than one thing wrong today, but let's just go with it, okay? So today our story takes place in Jharkhand, India. Now, in this area, Jharkhand of India, they have a huge population of over 33 million people, okay? 33 million people in this one area. And also in this area comes a key ingredient that is incredibly important in many things in today's uses, today's culture, and that includes from insulation to electricals to makeup to even to toothpaste. Okay, I found that this stuff is in toothpaste. It's the part of your makeup that makes it shimmer and shine. And I didn't realize, so when researching this, I went through a load of my products, and actually a lot of my products use this ingredient. I have to reiterate that the story that I'm going to be talking about today, only some companies get their products this way. I don't know which ones do and don't, so I can't sit here and give you a list of do use these companies and don't use these companies. There's such a wide use for the mineral that so many people use it. So I'm going to let you guys make your own decision up about it, about how you want to proceed your future using the products that you use if they contain the mineral. But I'm just going to stop waffling and get on with it, okay? So in Jharkhand, India, they have incredible reserves of this mineral called mica. You might have seen it, you might have heard of it. I personally hadn't heard of it until it came to making this video, and I stumbled across it because I wanted to do someone that wasn't very well known. I didn't want to do like Rosa Parks that everyone knows about. I might still do one day when I run out of ideas, but to start with, I just didn't want to keep going on and on about someone that everyone knows about anyway. So the mineral in question is called mica. It's the part of, for makeup anyway, it's the part of the product that makes it have that sparkle, that shimmer, that shine. So my MUA highlighter that I've had for I don't even know how long, that has mica in it, along with a lot of other products. And like I said, only some of the mica is obtained illegally, and there's actually not an easy way to find out whether or not your products have been mixed with products obtained illegally. It's very difficult for the companies to figure out themselves. So mica is a mineral that is required to be mined in order to be obtained. So people have to go under the ground and bring it up. Where mica is found, it's found under forests. Yeah. So in Jharkhand, India, what they did was they would dig up all the forests, they'd cut down all of the trees, and this would then give them extra money. At the same time, they would sell all of the wood from the trees as timber, and then they would start digging holes all over the place underneath where the forest used to be in order to try and find that mica. So because of the amount of people that were mining for this mica in Jharkhand, the amount of people that were cutting down trees to try and dig these holes underneath the forests. In 1980, Jharkhand released a new law stating that people could only mine for this mica in certain mining spots and in certain places with regulations and rules set in place. So a lot of the other mines that were open around Jharkhand began closing down as of 1980 because they were deemed there was just far too many of them. There wasn't enough forest. You know, you've completely ruined the environment. Deforestation is not okay. So between 1980 and the year 2000, a lot of the mica mines began to close down, and a lot of them became more gated mines, more official places of work, like how you'd find a warehouse here nowadays. Quite gated, quite secure, so that not just anyone can wander on in. However, as there is with everything, there's an opportunity sat there. It's just sat waiting. So some people who are called operators, for the purpose of this, we are going to call them operators. They, as of the year 2000, began to go into all these now abandoned mica mines, and they began to unabandon them. They began to scavenge. They began to scavenge and try and find any mica that was left in the mines. And quite often, in order to do this, they didn't actually want to get their hands dirty themselves. They wanted all the profit, and they were going to do like the selling of it, like distributing and that, but they didn't want to get dirty. They didn't want to go down in a dirty little hole and dig for mica. So they hired people to do it for them. The residents of Jharkhand, it's such a big population, yet it has one of the biggest poverty problems of the country, of the whole of India. Jharkhand is one of the highest spots for poverty, for family poverty, for children in poverty. So a lot of the families in this story, they didn't really have another option. We'll get there, we'll explain it. But just bear with that a lot of these people didn't have another option. They didn't have, you know, a choice of to go down Tesco's and see if there's a job. This is their only option. So a lot of families began mining together for this mica, for these operators to illegally obtain it. And quite often, in the documentaries that I read, the documentaries that I watched and the articles that I read, the males, the dads of the family, would quite often say that they actually didn't spend that much time down in the mines because they were the men. And because when the weather was nice, the only time they'd really go down in the mines is if the weather was really bad. If the weather was nice, they'd be up on the surface, they'd be building houses or repairing things, working with their hands, building stuff in general to try and improve the community area that they had. So quite often, the people that were found in the mines were actually women and children, and more often than not, it was the children rather than the women, because the women were quite often pregnant or dealing with raising the children, younger children and stuff like that. So quite often it was children that would be found working down in the mines. Because of the amount of people that were mining for this mica in Jharkhand, the amount of people that were cutting down trees to try and dig these holes underneath the forests. In 1980, Jharkhand released a new law stating that people could only mine for this mica in certain mining spots and in certain places with regulations and rules set in place. So a lot of the other mines that were open around Jharkhand began closing down as of 1980 because they were deemed there was just far too many of them. There wasn't enough forest. You know, you've completely ruined the environment. Deforestation is not okay. So between 1980 and the year 2000, a lot of the mica mines began to close down, and a lot of them became more gated mines, more official places of work, like how you'd find a warehouse here nowadays. Quite gated, quite secure, so that not just anyone can wander on in. However, as there is with everything, there's an opportunity sat there. He's just sat waiting. So some people who are called operators, for the purpose of this, we are going to call them operators. They, as of the year 2000, began to go into all these now abandoned mica mines, and they began to unabandon them. They began to scavenge. They began to scavenge and try and find any mica that was left in the mines. And quite often, in order to do this, they didn't actually want to get their hands dirty themselves. They wanted all the profit, and they were going to do like the selling of it, like distributing and that, but they didn't want to get dirty. They didn't want to go down in a dirty little hole and dig for mica. So they hired people to do it for them. The residents of Jharkhand, it's such a big population, yet it has one of the biggest poverty problems of the country, of the whole of India. Jharkhand is one of the highest spots for poverty, for family poverty, for children in poverty. So a lot of the families in this story, they didn't really have another option. We'll get there, we'll explain it. But just bear with that a lot of these people didn't have another option. They didn't have, you know, a choice of to go down Tesco's and see if there's a job. This is their only option. So a lot of families began mining together for this mica, for these operators to illegally obtain it. And quite often, in the documentaries that I read, the documentaries that I watched and the articles that I read, the males, the dads of the family, would quite often say that they actually didn't spend that much time down in the mines because they were the men. And because when the weather was nice, the only time they'd really go down in the mines is if the weather was really bad. If the weather was nice, they'd be up on the surface, they'd be building houses or repairing things, working with their hands, building stuff in general to try and improve the community area that they had. So quite often, the people that were found in the mines were actually women and children, and more often than not, it was the children rather than the women, because the women were quite often pregnant or dealing with raising the children, younger children and stuff like that. So our first inspirational woman for today's video, and once again, please forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong and feel free to correct me, but I believe her name is pronounced Pooja. Sorry if I've done it. I'm sorry, so sorry if I've pronounced it wrong, but I believe it is pronounced Pooja. She was 11 years old. She is one of the children in a small village in Jharkhand that are run by these illegal operators, and she herself works down in the mines. The investigators asked her how long she'd been working down in the mines, and she told them that she'd been working down there since she was 8 years old. But actually that wasn't very uncommon in the area, and she knew of people that had been in the mines younger than 8 years of age. And actually in another article that I read, there was one child, and they had been working down in the mines since they were 4 years old. So as you can see, there's a massive difference in culture from our culture to their culture. It's perfectly normal for them to turn around and say that at the age of 8 they were working in a mine, whereas for us that is completely shocking. Or at least for me personally, I found that really shocking and really horrible. To be quite honest, I just wasn't a fan of seeing it, of reading it. It's like, no, you should be like cuddling your teddies, not digging for dirt. No. But anyway, on with the story. So Pooja, our wonderful, what we're guessing to be 12-year-old now, she worked down in the mines as of the age of 11, at the age of 11, but from the age of 8. And she was telling the reporters how unstable it was down there, and she was basically running them through the process of how they actually go down into the mine and get all of the mica out. So she was telling them that they climb down into the mines. Climb. completely climb. These children, bearing in mind, they have no hard hats, they have no torches, they have no proper clothing, and they don't even have shoes on. Okay, I was watching videos of kids going down into the mines and showing the interviewers how they go and mine for it and what they do, where they go. They don't wear shoes at all. So the way in which these children obtain the mica, how they mine for it, is they literally jump into a hole, no socks, no shoes, no nothing. They just jump into these holes. They climb down to where there is usually a pickaxe in a tunnel, a little cave, however you want to describe it. It just looked kind of like a cave to me, inside of a hole. But they they jump down, they pick up this pickaxe, they hit the wall a few times, so a load of dirt falls off of the wall, and then they pick up these tiny little wicker baskets that they have, and they scoop up this dirt that they've just hit off the wall, right? So they're hitting this dirt off the wall, they scoop it up, and then they have to climb their way all the way back up and out of the mine with this basket of dirt. And when they get to the top, they then have to carry it over to a sieve. And these sieves are just literally bamboo sticks with like chicken wire. That's the only way I can describe it. That's literally what the materials look like that this sieve was made out of, from this documentary article thing I was watching whilst researching. And what they're doing when they do that is they're literally trying to separate the gravel from the mica, because the mica looks different, so they can see it's a different size to the normal gravel. So the gravel falls through, the mica stays on top of the sieve. They put all of that into some buckets, and then the operator comes round, collects all of the mica from the kids. And these people, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but they're paid like 19 pence a day. That's like a lot. That's like their max. They are paid a maximum of 19 pence a day. Well, the equivalent to 19 pence a day. Can you imagine? Like, I know kids that empty the dishwasher at home in England and get more money than that. Or I did when I was like a kid that had to empty the dishwasher. So when this mica has been handed over to these operator fellows, they then take the mica, and this is where the cover-up comes in, okay? So this is the bit that you guys, I need to really get across to you guys, that it's not all companies know that where their mica is coming from completely. Not all companies use this method when obtaining their mica. So it's difficult to, it's a difficult one, okay? You'd have to do more research onto your own individual products in order to find out how your company obtains their mica. I'm going to talk about 1 or 2 companies that I know about and their views on the mica situation, because in the beauty industry it has become a big thing. People are like, no, this cannot happen, which I agree with. This cannot happen. Children should not be treated, no one should be treated that way. But when the operators get hold of the mica, they then have traders who will drive it and sell it and ship it overseas. They usually, from what I was reading, what it looked like they do is they usually just send it overseas with loads of like fake information saying that it's come from a different mine, or to say that it's come from a legal mine within the country, and they've kind of just tagged on the end of those people that are already going across with their products. So that's how it gets across to the UK. And generally, once it's over here in the UK, it's just another big lorry, crate full, however they contain it. It's just another thing full of mica. It doesn't make a difference. No one knows that it's coming from these poor children. And not only is it dangerous for these children to be mining for the mica, like, I don't think I can explain how dangerous it is. These kids are actually dying. Okay, the young lady Pooja that we spoke about earlier, when she was being interviewed, she'd said to the crew that she's terrified of going into the mines because of the amount of children that she's seen have debris fall from the ceiling on their head and either split their head open and they've been like quite badly hurt, or actually just kill them. It is estimated between 20 and 30 children die each month because of the mining activities. However, there is a silver lining in our story, and that comes in 2016 in the name of the Thomas, once again, I apologise if I pronounce this wrong, it's the Thomas Reuters Foundation. I'm sorry once again if I have pronounced that wrong. That's how I believe it to be pronounced. In 2016, they did an investigation onto these abandoned mines for allegations that children had been mining them. So obviously word has gotten out. Someone's like, hey, did you guys, are you guys aware that this is happening? And they went and investigated, and they found that yes, children are mining these products at an incredibly deadly cost. So there is another children's foundation that I'm going to put the name up here because I cannot pronounce this at all. So their foundation came in the year 2001. So they've actually been in for 15 years before this Thomas Reuters Foundation. So as of 2001, this children's charity have rescued over 72,000 children from the illegal mining villages, and have also created, as of 2020, this was updated, they have over 540 what they called child-friendly villages. So these child-friendly villages are absolutely amazing, and is where we introduce our second inspirational, empowering woman of today's video, and her name is, once again, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, but I believe her name to be pronounced Champa. Now, Champa is a 14-year-old young lady. She lives in Jharkhand, and she is president of the first child-friendly village. So within these villages, they have child parliament that works exactly the same as our normal parliament does. You know, their child-friendly villages, their parliament is run by children. So this 14-year-old young lady, Champa, she is the president of the first village's child parliament. So she's the boss, okay? She's like, okay, I'm number one. This is the first village for, oh, let me do this one sec. So she was president of one of the first villages for children being saved from this area. So she had an incredible task. Her task was to set the way for all of these other 539 villages that followed after hers. So her goal, her aim, that I saw from watching documentaries and reading articles on her, was to spread the word, to get out there to other children. She wanted to make sure that every single child village had a child parliament, that the children were in charge, that they didn't have to go back through all of, I guess you could describe it as torture. I think it's quite torturous. I think it's horrible, inhumane, and really, really sad that these children had to go through all of this. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just really sad. I really don't like to see children like that, treated like that, anyone like that. No one deserves to be treated horribly. But yeah, so she made sure that there were these child parliaments in all of these villages to come, and really wanted to spread the word so that other villages that were still in these illegal mining rings, I guess is the only way I can describe it, the villages that were still involved with illegally mining and getting children to mine the mica for them, that's what she wanted to end. That's her goal, okay, is to end this. And she's such an amazing, she's 14 years old, man, and this is her life goal, is to stop children being forced into mining because they have no other option. They have to, quote, how else will they put food on the table? You know, stuff like that. It just shouldn't happen. I'm going off topic again. Okay, so not only has our wonderful Champa taken charge of the children and is inspiring the children and showing them the way of life, she also met with the Chief Minister of India, of Jharkhand, and she told this man that there wasn't enough teachers in these child-friendly villages. This was, you know, something that was being run, something that was being done to help save the country. But there weren't enough teachers so that all of the children could study efficiently and all of the children could learn properly. She's telling this guy, like, yo, we need more teachers. We want to learn. We've finally been given this opportunity that we can learn. Don't restrict us. We need more teachers. We want to learn more. So she's like, we need more teachers. And within a few days, he'd sent more teachers down to the child-friendly villages so that the children could learn better, so they could learn more and they could have more teachers to help them. And Champa said that this empowered all of the other children. They'd gone from struggling with what they had, with the teachers that they had to learn, to suddenly they've been told by the chief minister that they're going to get all of these teachers, and these teachers all arrived to help the students and to be there for them. And it was an opportunity that none of them had ever had before. The children in these child-friendly villages had never had the opportunity to go to school because their parents couldn't afford it, and hence why they'd been working in the mines. So this was like, Champa said this really empowered all of the other children. They really got into a strive and they wanted to help to learn, and they wanted to help spread the cause, spread the child-friendly village. They wanted every child in Jharkhand to have the ability to go to this child-friendly village, to live here. Child-friendly village wasn't just to take the children out of the mines. It was so much more than that. It was to teach parents that there is another way to source your income. There is another way to put food on the table for your children. You don't need to send them into mines or work for these bad guys. There is an alternative. And these child-friendly villages taught the parents other ways that they could pay for their children. So this wonderful foundation, Children's Foundation, that I'm going to flash up here again, not only have they taken the children away from the mines and shown the parents new ways to source their income, they've also enrolled every single child that has been walked through a child-friendly village gate. Every single child has been enrolled into school and has been given the opportunity to learn and given the schooling that they want. And as of today's statistics, there are 50,000 children attending school daily. Whilst in an interview with Champa, they asked her what she wanted to do for her future. You know, where did she see herself? I mean, she's 14 years old and she's already the president of a parliament, of her own child parliament. She's already riding the wave and setting the way for all of these other children to follow in her footsteps one day. And so the interviewers were like, well, what do you actually want to do? Like, when you grow up, when you become an adult, you've got so much life left to live. What are you going to do with it? And she's turned around and she goes, I'm going to be a teacher. And she said she wants to travel around India and she wants to help other children that are in similar situations to what she was in when she was younger. And she wanted to just give everyone the opportunity to learn and to not have to suffer. And she thinks that she feels that it's so empowering having the ability to learn, and having it just handed it to you is an amazing opportunity. And she basically wants to go around in her future and hand that opportunity out to other children that otherwise wouldn't have thought it possible at all. So I really quickly just wanted to go through some companies and their involvement and just explain all of that to you guys, because I had to kind of get my head around it. So the mica that comes into the country, it all depends really on the supply chain that each individual company uses. So if a company knows, you know, exactly their supply chain, oh, we know that all of this mica came from this place to here, went to there, and then came to here, because we've tracked it, we had the same person on the truck or whatever, some paper trail, but they can 100% say, yeah, all of this mica came from a legal and regulated mine. Then I guess that's what you guys need to look for. Have decided that rather than being involved in any way, shape or form with all of the mica scandal, and so that no one can say, but they have decided to completely pull out of using natural mica and use a synthetic version instead. So they have absolutely no trade in the mica industry. They don't deal with it at all. It's all man-made, it's all synthetic in all of their products. The Body Shop is the other company I just wanted to real quickly talk about. So the Body Shop do use Indian mica in some of their products. I have their bronzer here actually. This bronzer has got mica in it. However, if you go on their website, it does explain some of their ingredients and where they all come from. And I managed to do a little bit of research and find out that their mica is tracked and traced. So all mica that comes into the country and that is used does come from India for the Body Shop. However, it is all from regulated mines. They're all gated away from the community, so children can't find their way in, never mind work in the mine. All of the employees are paid a fair trade wage, so they're paid decently, they are paid nicely, and also they put money into the community. So they help fund, they have a campaign called Children on the Edge, and that is to help fund teachers for children in India and more developing countries, so that they can get the education that they all deserve, because everyone deserves an education. Thank you for joining me through this week's video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit long and a little bit sad. I hope you all have a blessed week next week. If you have any ideas or recommendations on stories you guys want me to cover next week, let me know in the comments below and I can certainly have a look. Stay safe and stay beautiful, guys. Love yous.